everybody, my name is Bragster and welcome back to another episode of F1 Manager with McLaren. Now in the last episode we got so close, so close to getting some points. But today's the day we get points on the board, partly because we've already got some points on the board. That's right, in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix we got 6 points, that's right, and our drivers who got those 6 points was Ricciardo. Norris didn't get us any points, it was all on Ricciardo getting those points. So you're probably wondering, what happened at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix to get you those points? Well, let's walk you through it. So here we are at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We set the qualifying targets really low because we didn't believe in ourselves, but we did have to get an emergency suspension so we could get one on both cars, and then managed to get a suspension ready and built for the future races just in case we ended up having a crash. Luckily that did not happen, spoiler alert. But yeah, we managed to set some really good qualifying times of about 1 minute 30, but we weren't really sure what everyone else would do just because we sent our drivers out really early. But once all the drivers had been done going into our last flying lap, you could see us at that 6th and 9th spot, which put us in a really good way. It put us in a great position with Ricciardo and Norris, and we kind of know that because of the Williams and the Aston Martins at the bottom, we were going to finish reasonably high in this qualifying session. All we had to do was put out a decent time, which we very much did. I think we put them out on used softs as well, just because we didn't need to improve our times. We didn't have to improve them because we felt that they were enough. So we ended up having them go for this flying lap, and you could just see everyone finishing around us. So we were kind of worried because people just kept improving and improving around us. But then we started to see the likes of Vettel and Stroll finishing their laps, and they were miles behind where we were. But seems to be a theme in our qualifying sessions that we can't really improve on our first qualifying time. When I set them out for that flying lap, going out the second time really doesn't help them. That going behind other cars just doesn't seem to work with our car. But luckily enough people managed to finish below us, so we were able to qualify for Q2. Going into Q2, looking at the original times that we set, I was thinking we were in a lot of trouble here. For whatever reason, we just weren't going to be able to beat the cars above us. We were very much a step behind. So we sent out Ricciardo and Norris for their flying laps. And then we saw that Verstappen and everyone else just started to set their times. But Ricciardo was a whole second point 2 off. And Norris was a second off himself, off Verstappen. We weren't really sure where that would leave us, but that left us in a very perilous position going into this final lap of Q2. We were in 8th and 10th, and looking at the people below us, we had a Mercedes below us, they had the Alpines below us, and we knew it was going to be very difficult to qualify for Q3, and it proved to be difficult as time after time came in. We got pushed further and further down the pecking order, eventually finishing outside of the top 10. And that left us in a position where we ended up finishing 13th and 15th in Q2. And we ended up going with different qualifying strategies. We ended up going for hards and mediums on Ricciardo, and then mediums to hards on Norris. We went for opposite strategies to look for maybe if a safety car come in, we could really use that to our advantage. No, we made some moves really early on. Ricciardo managing to overtake Tsunoda there in literally one of the first corners. But a thing that managed to change things, there was a crash for Gasly. Yes, Gasly crashed into the side barriers, and that freed up a lot of room for us to go into. But we ended up getting stuck behind Zhou for so long of this race. We just couldn't get past him. Both Ricciardo and Norris were trading places non-stop with one another to have goes at Zhou, while also managing to conserve the fuel and the tyres. But as you saw that, it just took lap after lap. It felt like ages. It felt like over half of this race we were behind Zhou, and we had people pitting around us, and we ended up pitting Norris first before Ricciardo. Obviously he was on the medium tyres, And then eventually that freed up room for Ricciardo to then overtake Zhou finally and pull ahead as well using the DRS. He overtook at the perfect point. But the big moment of this race was this crash right here between the Haas and the AlphaTauri, because what did that cause? It caused a safety car. That's right. We planned in our strategy for the possibility of a safety car, depending on whose strategy it worked for. And if you look, Ricciardo ended up going into the pits at the perfect opportunity with the safety car. And we thought, do you know what? We'll do the same with Norris. We'll pit Norris for the mediums as well. So we would have both of them on mediums. But with Norris having to pit twice, it wasn't going to benefit him like it benefited Ricciardo. Ricciardo pitted once, and it didn't feel like he pitted because he ended up in that 9th position. And then when the restart began, he ended up making moves on his fresh medium tyres. After the safety car, he made immediately moves on the Alpines. He really struggled to get past the Alpine in Ocon, but eventually managed to get past. And then we're in this train with Russell, Hamilton and Alonso. He went for it again. I thought he was going to try and take the Mercedes as well, but he didn't. He went for Alonso. He was coming up the inside. He got the inside line and managed to push Alonso out the way, which meant that the only cars that he was behind were the Ferraris, the Red Bulls and the Mercedes. He had the 2 Mercedes in front, the 2 Alpines behind, and he managed to hold on to it right to the very end. Ricciardo managed to hold on. His tyres were hanging on by a thread. So were Norris's at this point, but Norris had no contention of getting into those points. But Ricciardo held on. If you looked behind us as well, we were literally inches away from losing that spot. If there was one more lap of that race, we would have been screwed. But we planned our strategy to perfection, and we planned for the safety car, and the safety car came at the perfect time. And Ricciardo ended up making up 8 places in that race. Norris making up 1 of his own. But Ricciardo was the man we were all talking about. That Gasly crash really helped. And then the crash later on between the Haas and the AlphaTauri really helped. And if you looked there, the standings meant that we were 5th. And we got the same points as Alpine in total, but obviously Ricciardo managed to get a lot for himself. It put us in that 5th position, in prime position as well. We ended up making a new chassis. We'd already designed it, so it was just a matter of making a new chassis so it was available for this race. So you'll see us have to make a decision between who gets the better chassis, because only one of the chassis was going to be available for the next race in Australia. And thing you probably didn't expect to see was we ended up signing Jack Doohan. I wasn't really happy with our reserve driver. He wasn't going to improve at all. So I was like, we need someone new. We need someone younger. So we ended up getting a 19-year-old in. And that is our new reserve driver for this season with McLaren. Right, so we've got a big decision to make. We've got a brand new chassis, but we've only got one. And, I mean, if you look at the differences, it's very minor between the two of them. And they only really help with our cornering as it goes from 11th to actually 9th. So we'll go to really good in 2 high-speed sectors. We're definitely going to implement it, but on what car do we implement it on? Because we've got Danny Rick on car 1 and we've got Norris on car 2. Obviously, Danny Rick has got us the points on the board, but then Norris is technically the better driver. What I think I will do, which might be controversial, is put it on Ricciardo's car. Ricciardo's the one that's got us the points so far, so maybe just back him for this race. Well, we're here at the Australian Grand Prix, and it's going to be a wet race. We haven't had a wet race yet, so we've got our first points on the board, but this is a wet race, and it's going to be a bloody wet one. It's heavy rain expected, so qualifying is going to be essential in this one, because if we do not qualify well, we might actually struggle to make up some positions, especially if we have to keep pitting for different style tyres depending on the rain. So it's going to be an important qualifying session for us. Right, so going into qualifying, our drivers have some really good confidence in the car. So that's going to put us in really good stead. Let's get into the first qualifying session. Let's just try and get as far as we can. Right, we're just hoping that Norris doesn't hit traffic or that Ricciardo doesn't hit traffic. Norris is going to be fine, Ricciardo's going to be fine, and we're on their flying laps now. That is a perfect possible... It's possibly the best start to a qualifying session we could possibly have. Just for the simple fact of we won't hit any traffic. This is completely free reign for us to go absolutely mental in this one. So, fingers crossed. We need to go above Tsunoda, really. And we do go above Tsunoda. That is beautiful stuff. Can Danny Rick do a similar thing? He does as well. So Danny Rick in the better car, the worst driver though out of the two of them. But that is absolutely perfect for us. So I'm really, really happy with that. We're currently in a really good place. At the moment, we're about 11th or 13th. That is a very good first qualifying session, if I do say so myself. Can we avoid traffic? Ricciardo's going through now. He avoids traffic. Norris barely. Did you see that? Norris barely avoided traffic. That is so touch and go there by Norris. But it's absolutely perfect because that means that we're definitely not in traffic with either of them. The only worry, though, is if Ricciardo catches his Alfa Romeo, and I think he will as well. So Ricciardo might get held up in his lap here. I'm hoping he doesn't, but he might just do, or he might just be too far ahead. That is almost perfect for us with Ricciardo there, who does go top with that 20 seconds. We need to be in that 19-second mark, though. And Norris is there, but it's just a touch little slower than he was last time. Looking at it, though, Zhou has qualified guaranteed behind us, which is really, really good there. So has Tsunoda. So we need to just improve on our times a little bit more to get above the likes of them. To be honest, we need to get above the Alpines, preferably. I mean, so this is going to be really, really tight, but we're going to see Norris's time here. He's got DRS. He's going to improve. Where's he going to end up? He doesn't improve, actually. That is quite disappointing, the fact that he didn't improve as much as we were hoping. Danny Rick, though, in the slightly better car, doesn't improve that much either. We get 11th and 13th going into this race. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I really hoped we could get someone into Q3 there. You won't see me do this very, very often, if at all, during this entire series, really. I'm going to go with the exact same strategy for both drivers. I'm going to go hards onto wets as the current strategy, and then we'll just see what happens. Because if you look at this track, it gets wet and wet fast. So I think we're just going to stay on that hard tyre until the rain comes, and then we're going to stick them on wets. I might go inters to wets with one of these two drivers, but I think that will purely depend on where each of the drivers are in their race. I don't think it's an easy decision to make at the very beginning of this race, especially when they're both positioned so closely.
And it's lights out, and away we go.
We're going to go immediately in to Ricciardo's point of view, because again, we can see Norris just ahead. Ricciardo seems to be making moves early on. There seems a lot of people on mediums, though. How many? Everyone else is on mediums. Literally, everyone else is on mediums. I mean, Norris is immediately in the points here, just on the hards. I mean, we're hoping for a one-stop strategy here, which could be a really smart move. Ricciardo's making moves. Norris is making moves. This is a beautiful start to the race for us. But what's gone on here? Crash? What do you mean a crash? Crash involving who? I mean, I'm seeing Russell tumble down, so a crash must have happened with Russell. What in the world is going on here? A crash has happened. George Russell is the one in the crash, so I don't know what's happened. Oh, it's a lockup between, what, 2-3 cars? The Alpine somehow managed to avoid any sort of damage there. But that is almost perfect for us, because we've got Norris currently in P6. Then we've got Danny Rick in this little train here, which is going absolutely fine. Okay, something interesting to note here is we are currently closing the gap on Hamilton. And we're currently the front of this train here. So if we look behind us, we have literally got the train going on here. Bottas is currently chasing down Hamilton. We're currently in this little train, so we're getting DRS consistently, which is keeping up with Bottas. And obviously Bottas is in a faster car anyway. Although, something interesting to note here, Verstappen is pitting. This is interesting to note. So Verstappen is heading onto these harder tyres. Do they know something that we don't? Is rain not coming? Because I'm pretty sure rain is coming. If we look at everything to do with the track, our weather forecast is saying rain is coming. But maybe theirs isn't saying rain's coming, and that could be a problem for us. Norris has just been an absolute monster and just taken Verstappen. Oh, okay, interesting to note, Bottas has just pitted alongside Alonso and everybody. So currently, Danny Rick's staying out. Everyone is staying out. They are all going on to hards now. I mean, I get it, and I also don't, because right now we are conserving our tyres perfectly to meet with this rain, and we won't need to do a pit stop. If this works out for us, this is an absolute perfect play. Sainz and Leclerc are now pitting, so we're going really far forwards here. That was a glitch, if I've ever seen one. That should have been a crash. Leclerc come out there at a weird time, and Norris went through him. So I don't know what's going on there. Ricciardo's in this little train here. I don't know what's going on. This is mental. Right, so currently we have built a train. Norris has built a train behind him of Leclerc, Verstappen, Ocon, Gasly, Ricciardo, Zhou, and Sainz. It's absolute crazy stuff here. I do not mind Norris kind of keeping this train at the moment. He will have to hold out a little bit on everything else, although he's keeping his tyres in good shape. So we are pushing on these hards, but yet keeping them in really good shape, which is good to see. I don't mind Leclerc taking us. Remember, they are in faster cars. We are in a much slower car, so I do not mind that whatsoever, because they will just carry us along 2 points. That's all we need. Look at this. Sonoda is 12 points behind this train. So no matter where we end up in this train, we get points. So this is huge for us. If we manage to get any points from this race, this is going to be huge, especially if we manage to get points with both drivers. Uh-oh. What's going on here? Gearbox is starting to show some wear already. This is our third race. How is he showing some wear already on his gearbox? And we got the same with Norris? No. I wonder if maybe those early crashes in the very first race have caused Ricciardo's gearbox to maybe go a little bit earlier than Norris's. And if that is the case, that's quite worrying. So we will definitely need to replace his gearbox for the next race. But that also means that Ricciardo's got to last the rest of this race with a very worn out gearbox. This is not looking good for Ricciardo. Okay, so we've just seen Ocon, Gasly, and Zhou all end up pitting now. So at the moment, this one-stop strategy, if we manage to pull this off, is looking incredibly clever by us, because we've got currently, we're almost looking guaranteed to get top 7. If this one-stop strategy works, we're looking to get guaranteed top 7. And if that is the case, oh boy, we're going to have an absolute amazing time in this race, because all we're going to be behind is the one Mercedes, the Ferrari, and the Red Bulls. This could end up being a perfect race for us. We just got to hope we don't muck this up and that the rain comes, because I'm quite concerned the rain isn't going to come. Hamilton has pitted. I've just noticed Hamilton's just pitted for some hards. He's pitting for hards now. We're expecting rain in 6 laps. I'm quite concerned the rain isn't coming. And if the rain doesn't come, we're in a lot of trouble, because we've literally planned our entire strategy around the rain. Oh no, oh no. But the wet weather is here. It's here, people. The wet weather is here. Okay, this is good. We're getting a moderate rain and some heavy rain. So, yes, we will need to pit. And I think we're going to pit for some wet tyres with Norris. This is getting too much. We need to pit them both at the same time. I know we're pitting them both immediately, but we need to pit them both at the same time. Norris not locked up. Oh, I didn't even see that. I genuinely thought it was Ricciardo, but no. Norris locked up, but he did manage to get back onto the track. I mean, there's just been a few little moments in there because of how wet it is. we are literally pushing these drivers to another level is what we're doing. But we're pitting them both at the same time, which I know is stupid. I know is risky, but it's what we've got to do. We've managed to plan this perfectly. If this works, this is incredible stuff. Okay, that was, it could have been better. It could have been much better, but we managed to make it work. I feel like we managed to make it work anyway. Looking at everyone on the tyres, there's a bunch of people on Inters. We've done this one-stop strategy, and it might actually work. I genuinely feel like I could be a genius here. Where's Leclerc? We're top. We're currently P1 of this race. This is incredible stuff. We're currently P1 and P3 in this race. This is incredible to see. We might actually have a chance of getting not only points on the board, this could be a chance of our first ever podium, and all because of the rain and us planning around the rain. So Verstappen has finally taken Ricciardo. He's been coming at Ricciardo for a while now, and he's finally taken him. It was kind of expected. He's in a better car than the car we have, but I have to say Ricciardo pulled up a really good fight, and if he continues to pull off that sort of fight, we're going to be in with really good points with Ricciardo, and he might have held up everyone else just enough to give Norris that little bit of space now from Verstappen to maybe not get caught by Verstappen. So not only is the rain getting heavier, but it's becoming harder and harder for us to keep at the top of this pack. The Ferraris and the Red Bulls are catching us up, and Leclerc has just overtaken Norris. So the only chance of a podium past this point is to stop Verstappen from catching up with Norris. That is the only chance we've got of a podium. This is the closest we're going to get to a podium, I feel like, for a while without any big upgrades. So come on, Norris. Right, so we're having to conserve on fuel with Norris because he's struggling to keep that fuel level low. Ricciardo's not really got the same problem. So we're having to deploy with Norris just to keep it away from Verstappen while also conserving a little bit of fuel. So as long as we keep the fuel levels fine, I think we should be okay. I mean, there's 7 laps left. There's 6 seconds between the two of them. It's going to be very close heading into that final lap. That is for sure. Right, so this is going to be tough past this point. If you look here, we should be fine with the wets on that trajectory. But I want to push them right at the end. I don't want to push them right about now. I know that's going to let Verstappen in a little bit, but with 5 or 6 laps to go, I'm just kind of hoping we can push once Verstappen is with us, rather than pushing now and trying to hold that gap, especially when we're trying to conserve fuel as well. So it's not the end of the world, but it could be better. Well, I said it was inevitable that Verstappen would catch up, and here he is. He's caught up with Norris now. And unfortunately for us, Norris is kind of having to harvest. He's having to conserve fuel to stay in this little range here. He will guaranteed get 4th, will Norris, but it's going to be very, very difficult to get this podium at this point, just because everything is working against us to get that podium. Right, so we're going to conserve, and we're also going to recharge with Norris for this lap, so then we can deploy for the final lap. Remember, there's no DRS, so we haven't got to worry about that really. Verstappen has taken us, so we'll go on to neutral now. Oh no, Norris is locked up. No. Okay. So we're definitely not getting podium. We've accepted that. Accept the fact that we're not getting a podium. What we can't do is lose anything else past this point. So we just got to keep going. We know we're not getting a podium past this point because Norris locked up, but a 4th and a 5th place in this race is absolutely incredible and puts us, our points are going to be so high at the end of this. It's ridiculous. Come on, Norris, make it to the end. Make it to the end, mate. I'm telling you now. Make it to the end. That's all I'm asking you to do. Ricciardo's absolutely fine. He's going to make it to the end. Ricciardo's definitely making it to the end. And I think he's going to have held off Hamilton just enough. Norris, just make it to the end, mate. Just make it to the end. Come on. Come on, you've got this. His fuel should be fine. Ricciardo's fuel should be fine. We should manage to do this. Come on, get in. We did it. We did it. A 4th and a 5th place. Get in. Wow. If you look at it here, Lando Norris up 7 places. Ricciardo up 8 places. We made up so many places there. You know, Perez dropped so many and so did Russell. But we just made up place after place after place. And that was incredible by us. 10 points and 12 points there. I couldn't have asked for anything better. That one-stop strategy worked. We risked it and it worked. If you look in the Drivers' Championship as well, Ricciardo with those 10 points has managed to get above Alonso and crept up really with Russell and Hamilton, whereas Norris with his first points in the series and nearly getting a podium with his first points of the series. In the Constructors, that 22 points does put us in a solid 4th place. We're only meant to get 5th, and currently we're out point scoring Alpine in this, and we've built up such a gap to Alfa Romeo and Haas, and we haven't even gotten half of our upgrades yet. Remember, only one of the cars had the chassis upgrades, so that's an incredible race for us. It's put us so far ahead, and wet weather has worked for us. Oh, so this is big. Okay, so we have to do a regulation vote as well, something that we have to do every single season, ready for the next one. Although I won't be playing the next one on YouTube, I might play it on Twitch if I do really enjoy the series. But looking at it, we've obviously got low speed wing changes and then high speed wing changes. I think we're going to go for the low speed ones. If I remember the car correctly, if you see where it ranks on the grid, we rank really lowly for low speed but really highly for high speed. So we're going to really want that low speed percentage wise to be dragged down just a little bit, just so we don't get affected by the high speed changes whatsoever. So let's vote for low speed changes, but I don't think that's the way everyone else will vote, but you never know, do you? You never know. But in the next episode, we will have the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, the Italian Grand Prix, and the American Grand Prix as well in the next one. I don't know if we're going to manage to actually secure as many points as we actually managed to secure here, because we've secured so many points and built up such a lead. I mean, things can only get better from here, right? Well, thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to hit that like button. Do put anything down in the comments down below. And if you're new here, please do subscribe so you do not miss an episode. Remember, there's 2 races an episode. And I shall see all of you in the next video. See ya! I have never been so happy to see wet weather ever. That played into our hands perfectly.